Where do you come down on our great debate series here? Second greatest quarterback of all time. I say Peyton. Perloff says Joe Montana.
So the context is it based solely on accomplishments or is it based on talent?
Dealer's choice, artist's choice.
All right, because for me it's kind of a tie between Elway and Mahomes.
Wow, okay. Explain.
Like, if I'm drawing up a quarterback and the resume has to have a championship on it, but more so than how many championships, who was the actual player, I just think Elway and Mahomes are the two best representatives of the quarterback position from a talent and accomplishment standpoint. Brady's always going to, have the default in the argument because he has the most championships, but he's not like Jordan. Like, I don't know if people view Brady as the greatest talent to ever play quarterback, but they do view him as probably the best in the clutch and the most accomplished.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we need to redefine how we talk about talent then, Shaun, because obviously Tom Brady did something right because he did accumulate Jordan-like stat. Well, not quite Jordan-like, but he did accumulate. He had 50 touchdowns in a season. So clearly he had talent. Maybe it was a different kind of talent?
Well, life's about timing. And he came through. He was a part of a very mature, secure organization. He had a head coach that matched his personality as far as how to prepare and approach the game of football. They had a group of veterans that were kind of selfless in that for the most part they stuck together, a lot of times taking less contractually than if they would have left. So, like, a lot of things had to fall in place for the number of championships, but the main one was Tom.
I understand. Shaun King is our guest here, Super Bowl champ, host of Visa in Prime Time. We talk about Mahomes and, like, how high on these lists, like, he'll be at the end of his career. But do you feel like you could really put Mahomes as one of the greatest of all time when he's still so young in his career?
Well, Mahomes has been to, 3 Super Bowls, won how many?
2.
2?
Yep.
I mean, who else on that list has more than 2? So he's already there, almost to Brady as far as amount of championships.
Well, Montana's got 4.
Right. But who else? When you look at the grand scheme of quarterback rankings, there's not a whole lot of guys that we consider great to have more than 2.
Yeah.
Shaun, let me ask you.
He already has 2, and he's at the very beginning of his prime. I'm just projecting a little bit with him, but it's not like I'm doing it with Trevor Lawrence, who's never won 1.
Right.
Shaun, you came in the league in '99, so you didn't see, you weren't there for the '80s, but can you talk about the different eras? How much easier is it to pass, say, from 2004 on as compared to what guys before it had to do?
Well, it's a different game, and statistically, that's why these younger quarterbacks are going to, accomplish more from a production standpoint than some of the older guys. Like Montana and that West Coast offense, it was a dink and dunk offense. It was a run the football, balanced attack. So he was never going to throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. It just wasn't the system. Whereas today everything's spread offense, it's up-tempo. The greatest correlation or the most contextual point you can make, the only time older offenses were in the shotgun was in 2-minute offense, right before the half, at the end of the game. Now it's when are the new offenses currently ever not in the shotgun.
Right.
So the game has just changed so much. It's so easier to play quarterback now than it used to be. It's easier to throw the ball from the shotgun than it is coming from under center. The game's a lot less physical as it pertains to the quarterback. Like, think about how Joe Theismann got hit when he broke his leg. Think about some of those hits that Joe Montana, took, and Elway. None of those hits were penalized. That was just a part of the game. And now look at Brady last year, Atlanta. He gets, the way he ran his arm by his helmet aggressively. He didn't touch him, but aggressively tried to touch him, and it's a penalty. So, I mean, it's different now.
Shaun King is joining us, a Super Bowl champ. He's the host of VSiN Prime Time and good enough to carve out a few minutes for us. We were having a conversation, Shaun, bringing it back to modern day, about Dak Prescott and the 15 interceptions last year in 12 games. Jerry Jones says he thinks it's going to be an outlier. I mean, it is an outlier in his career. The confidence you have in Dak to have bounced back this season, and also McCarthy in the offense and a discipline to actually commit to a run game that they've been talking about since basically the end of last year.
Well, it'll be interesting. Is McCarthy able to pivot to this modern day of football? It's a lot different than when he last coordinated and called plays. A lot more RPO stuff. The game's played differently. As far as Dak, to me, Dak's in a group of quarterbacks with Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, guys that are more than capable of helping you win games during the regular season. Just over their careers, they seem to come up short in the playoffs. You think about Dak's last 2 years, both against the 49ers, 2 years ago in Dallas, that 2-minute drive when he decides to run the football and they run out of time. And then last year, those interceptions in the second half, this time at San Francisco, until he plays at an elite level in the playoffs, that's going to be the cloud hanging over Dak. I'm not worried about regular season interceptions or turnovers. His career says that he's fine in the regular season.
Shaun, you okay with the Chargers paying Justin Herbert $262 million? I'll
say this. I want everybody to get paid. Can't get paid when every time a quarterback comes up for a renegotiation or extension, they feel like they have to get slightly more than the guy ahead of them. Look at this. I think Daniel Jones was first. He got, 140 guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. But look at Hurts. Hurts got, 255. Then Lamar got 260. Then Herbert got 262. At the end of the day, who's a better football player, Austin Eckler or Justin Herbert?
Why? I would assume Herbert because he's a quarterback.
Because why? Because he's talented. Like at the end of the day, I believe in Justin's talent, but what has he actually done? Blow a first half lead last time we saw him against Jacksonville, who limped into the playoffs because Tennessee Titans lost 7 games straight. Like if you take the nostalgia out of some of these some of these players and just look at the facts, I think Herbert's very talented, but do I think he should be paid more than Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. Is he paid more than Patrick Mahomes? That's a problem.
Shaun, Perloff and I were talking about whether we think Joe Burrow is going to, take more than Herbert and continue with this trend of taking more, or if Burrow does something like Mahomes, signing the super long deal, makes it a little more palatable for the team year by year to build a winner. What do you think?
I would presume he'll take the Brady road, the Mahomes road. Burrow's a dog. He's a guy that's right there on the peripherals now. I mean, he's gone to Kansas City the last 2 years, beat Mahomes 2 years ago, had a chance to win a championship. They didn't get it done against the Rams. Went to Arrowhead again last year, and, outside of a late roughing the quarterback penalty out of bounds, I mean, who knows how that game ends. So Burrow's a big dog. I would imagine him and Chase and Higgins and Tyler Boyd, they'll all find a way where they can all be rich and still be teammates, which to me makes the most sense. I mean, come on, goddamn, what's the difference between 250 and 265? I mean, come on.
Well, not for us.
I mean, do you got an extra part of the Gucci store that,
well,
people that quite aren't over 260 get to go to? Come on, man.
Perloff looked up the most expensive house in Cincinnati is what?
$9 million for Burrow.
Right. And, I mean, look at it right there in New York. Look what Daniel Jones got off of a 15-touchdown year.
Yeah, 92 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you telling me you can't pay Saquon Barkley, who is light years a better and more important football player for your success than Daniel Jones? No knock on Daniel Jones. Get your money. But it's out of whack. It shouldn't be position as much as it should be player.
Wait, just go back to the Chargers for 1 second. So you think the Chargers should pay Austin Eckler more, not more than Justin Herbert, but – You think that's going to be out of whack when you look at those two contracts?
100%. Austin Eckler's the best pass-catching running back in the National Football League. Justin Herbert is super talented, but I can show you multiple times where he's still uncomfortable in the pocket when he's under pressure. He still is a little erratic at times, pushing the ball down the field. And listen, this isn't me saying that he doesn't have the talent to develop into a superstar. This is me saying he's not that yet.